Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our business and career series. Today, we will talk about a new topic, and we will maybe focus on more, business and entrepreneur who have a business in digital marketing, or entrepreneur who want to start something like a business in the digital marketing world. So we have a guest today. We have Anya. Hi, Anya. How are you?
Hey Pam, thanks so much for inviting me on this evening. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about digital marketing.
Thank you very much for finding the time in your busy schedule. If you can just introduce a bit yourself before we jump in directly in the topic.
Yeah, so for anyone that doesn't know me, my name's Áine. I set up a business nearly 2 years ago now called Social Onya, so ONYA. There was a method to the madness on that one. When I lived in America for a number of years, people had difficulty with the name Anya, and everyone was calling me Anya, like ONYA. So I kind of stuck with that for my business name to make it as kind of accessible to as many people as possible. So what I do is I'm a visual marketing specialist where I focus mainly on Canva creations. So Canva is a great time-saving tool that a lot of business owners use to create professional looking graphics. So it's one of those tools that's really user accessible without having any, graphic designer backgrounds. So I work one-to-one with mentoring business owners and their teams on how to use it more effectively to create any visuals they might need for their business, whether it be, infographics, posters, visuals for their website, social media, whatever it might be. I also create templates for them, as well as showing them how to use the templates within Canva to update it with their branding and with their style and their voice, so to say. And then like that, I create visuals on a regular basis. So I spend most of my hours of the day is spent on Canva. But I suppose the way I got into that, if I was kind of to rewind, is I call myself a jack of all trades and master of none. I've definitely had a wide range of experience over the last 10 or so years in different parts of digital marketing. My first kind of experience is when I started off as an internship. It was my first time blogging and using social media not for personal but for business. And this was kind of even before even Facebook ads were even a big thing. They were only small, like booster post back then. So I got a lot of experience there that brought me on to my next job where I was working for a magazine and I was doing content creation for them, as well as, their email marketing and their social media marketing as well. And like that, trying to use our website to turn people who were coming on to read the articles into subscribers. And then I moved from there into e-commerce, which was a whole different skill set then again, working with, PPC, SEO, and like that tracking consumers' journey from, how they got to the website, how quickly they bounced off, all the way through to it turned into conversion. And then after that, then I started doing some freelance stuff. So I'm one of those, as I say, jack of all trades, master of none. I've worked in so many different parts of digital marketing that I just absolutely love it. But Canva really was the one thing that I truly enjoyed doing. And from working with so many small businesses over the years, I really saw the difficulty that they had having the time and the resources to put into creating visuals. So I wanted to be able to help small business owners learn time-saving techniques, which was going to save them time, which is money, but also actual money itself, hiring graphic designers. So that's a little bit about me in a nutshell in my digital marketing.
Now, actually, I learned more about you, and that's interesting that you have, like knowledge on different part of the digital marketing, because usually people hear about digital marketing, they think about one maybe angle of it, but actually there's different part of it. And as you say, Canva was a great tool to come, but before when which big change did you see besides Canva? But did you see, overcome, the past 5 or 10 years since you started, in the digital world?
Oh my God, there have been so many changes. It's hard to keep up with the changes.
Yeah, that's true.
That's, there's pros and cons to digital marketing. It's exciting with all the changes, but it's also a little bit difficult sometimes to keep up. So I guess for me, like when I started off, it was really Facebook and Twitter. They were the main two. Twitter, we've seen really since that was maybe 2013, 2014. Twitter hasn't really changed that much up until maybe the last year. And now it's starting to make little tweaks, but it's still Twitter, still Twitter. But Facebook drastically changed in the way that was being used for ads and different things. And then they got the Meta Business Suite. Instagram then kind of came and nearly overtook Facebook, depending on your target audience. LinkedIn was gaining popularity all the time, and now it's one of the biggest things for businesses to be on. Then 3 years ago in Ireland, we didn't really use TikTok at all, whereas now nearly everybody in our age group is on TikTok and spends hours on it. So much so that now they've changed their algorithm more for SEO, which is now starting to pass out Google, that more people now are going to TikTok to search for things than they are for Google, which
Wow.
10 years ago you'd never have thought that that was possible. And then of course the introduction to AI, which I'm sure we'll touch on more later. But AI now, in the last, we've known it was coming, the future was AI, and that was the future, whereas now, no, AI is here. AI is now the present. So it's no longer the future. So there's been drastic changes. We've seen what happens if the likes of Instagram goes down. Um,
Oh yeah.
is why I thoroughly believe that email marketing would be kind of my second love when it comes to digital marketing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like email marketing is so important, and I can kind of touch on that a bit more and later if you want me to, as to why I think that. But we've seen that these platforms can go down and how dependent businesses have become on them. And that can be, while it's a very, very good thing for businesses, it's also, if Meta was to shut up in the morning, what are businesses going to do to get their customers? So yeah, there's been drastic changes. Google Analytics is now changing as well. So that's another thing to keep up with. So yeah, there's been so many changes. It's hard to just even say just
Yeah,
one
yeah,
over
yeah,
the
for
last 10
sure.
years.
No, but thank you at least for those ones that are really quite big. And if we go deeper, there will be too many. We will have to spend 3 hours to talk about that
Exactly.
only, and we have only 1 hour. But yes. So before, actually, I had like a lot of questions about AI and everything now. But let's just go a bit before, and let's say now someone want to start a business, in digital marketing. Which area, which angle will you recommend? Because like you said, so many different angle, of course, depend of the person and what do you see the future in, and what will be more challenging to start a business in Pandon. Yeah, if you have an advice on that.
Yeah, to be honest, digital marketing, as we've kind of touched on, it's so broad. So within digital marketing, you have visual marketing, which would be kind of my first.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have email marketing, which would be next. You have content creation, you have social media marketing, you have paid ads, you've SEO, PPC, websites. Like, it really depends on the person. Like, if it comes to anything to do with coding or anything like that, anything too technical, I like to stay away from. I'm not a big tech head. While I did study mobile and cloud software development, it wasn't for me. So anything that's incredibly technical. I love data. I'm a very blue personality. I love processes. I love facts, figures. So for me, that's why I love email marketing, for example, because you can really kind of track the data that's coming into you, and see what's working and what's not. That's one part of the social media marketing I like. Another thing is to be, for me, is to be quite creative. So working on Canva as well, creating visuals, you need to be very creative. So whether it's producing videos, because now we're seeing, especially in the recent year or so, video has really overtaken everything. So Instagram used to be nice, pretty pictures on your grid, whereas now it's all about the Instagram reels. And they need to be quick, they need to be catchy, they need to like grab your customer's attention or your target audience attention, and reel them in. And you need to kind of nearly have that call to action at the end. So it's really kind of a case of using those skills together, that you kind of get the data and then you get the creativity. Content marketing goes with nearly everything. So whether you're creating content for a website, social media, even with the SEO, it's all content that you're bringing in together. It's just using it slightly different, that you're, whether you're using keywords or whether you're making it very descriptive. Blogging, I suppose, it was one of my first hobbies from it. So if you like to be able to write, that's where, you can write blogs for people, you can write the content, the social media posts, product descriptions for websites. Then I suppose if you go into the technical aspect, if you look at it, websites now need to be mobile responsive. And there's so many websites, believe it or not, that still are not mobile responsive. So when you go
Mhm.
on, they just don't make sense on your phone. You have to really look at it at a desktop or a laptop. So from that point of view, that mobile responsiveness is quite big. But I guess for anybody who wants to go into digital marketing, you can have all these kind of soft skills, and you can have things that you can learn, things that you will develop more and more as you get experience, and things that are constantly changing, like
Mhm.
algorithms that you just have to keep up with. And that's where adaptability comes in. You really need to be able to adapt to what's happening around you, and it can all happen very quickly. So, for example, I know I mentioned there a while ago about Instagram going down, but when that went down, there was businesses, thousands of businesses, I'm sure, around the world who had launched launches that day for maybe products or whatever, or an event. When that went down, they would have already had their team create loads of content, the ads, everything. But when it went down, everything went down. And then it's like, well, what do you do? And that's why I always come back to email marketing. If you have an email marketing list, that belongs to you and you only. So no matter what happens, you can email your customer or your target audience. If you have their email address, and you're following correct procedures, they've already interacted with you some way, shape, or form. They might have met you at a showcase stand. It might have been a lead magnet that brought them into your email list. And then hopefully you're sending them kind of regular content. It doesn't need to be
Mhm.
daily, it could be weekly or monthly, as long as it's content related to what they're interested in, and you're
Mhm.
building that know, like, and trust factor. So once you have an email list, no matter what happens, you have that list, and you can always reach out to them. Whereas it's no good having 20,000 followers on Instagram if Meta decided in the morning that's it, we're shutting up shop. Then you've lost 20,000 followers, and maybe 2,000 of those might actually remember to go to your website the next time they want something. So if you kind of build those lists, I definitely think having those kind of lead generation ideas as well is quite important. So there's a whole mixed bag of skills, but definitely I think adaptability and being able to say, okay, AI is this new thing. How do I make this work for my business? Okay, my website crashed. What do I do? Like I remember, I think it was my intern job. Yeah, so it was my intern job, and we'd worked really hard on this website. Still weren't fully happy with it, but it was a Friday afternoon. It was about 2 p.m. and the website just crashed. And I'll actually never forget it. It just crashed. But on the Monday afternoon, we had a really big showcase that we were going to. And we
Wow.
had all the content kind of lined up, how we were going to get them in, get their email addresses. And we were like, oh no, like we have no website. So the server had been hacked. Something had happened. I can't remember what happened, but it was gone. There was no getting it back.
Oh.
So we just literally, two of us had to spend a very long weekend in an office with lots of coffee, lots of chocolate, and then to keep us Red Bull, everything, and we just powered through. And neither of us were website developers, but we built a fantastic, even if I do say so myself, website through WordPress. But also, I had that little bit of coding experience, and I was able to just straight away put up working on a new website launching soon. So I was able to put up this display page for anyone that might have come before the showcase and want
Mhm.
an email address and contact. So I was able to get that up immediately while we worked on getting a new website up. And then on the Monday morning, because we hadn't had time to test it, so again, this comes back to being adaptable. We're like, right, well, how else are we going to get email addresses? How else are we going to get people to follow us on social media? So we came up with a very quick competition that we could do then and there to get them to follow us on social media. We went back to pen and paper, the good old original pen and paper, to collect the email addresses for people who wanted to learn more. I like that you just had to work with what you had, and instead of panicking and just giving up and saying, well, we're not going now, it was a case of just adapting to the circumstances, making the best of it. And we ended up having a great showcase, and the website did really well for us after that. So it's just a case of rolling with it sometimes in digital marketing, because things can go wrong.
Wow. And it's really about, like you say, adaptable, adapt to the situation,
Mm.
and don't lose your brain, don't lose yourself. Because I think that's some, that the way you explain the situation, a lot of people will be like, okay, that's, I'm done, like, let's, I don't know, that that will be complicated, to come back from that. But yeah, it's really about to adapt to and to think about outside the box as well, because we're used to the technology. Some people are really like only focused on that. That you're like, okay, well, I have nothing else. I have no other option. But in this case, you're like, okay, let's just try to work on that. Take pen and paper. Try to use all the thing we have to at least win time and try to do something with what. It's really about like outside the box totally and to think rethink everything. That's really
Now,
yeah.
I won't lie. When it happened, there was some tears. There was a bit of an explosion, maybe for 30. It wasn't a case of okay, we have this. There was panic stations, but we had our little half an hour where we're like but then just like that, we were a really good team and we worked very well together. So it's like okay, we can we'll just do our best. Let's see what we can get done, and we just have to make the best of the situation. It is what it is. So yeah, I think just being able to adapt with it in a different way after the panic stations. And I think, you know, I was fortunate enough when Instagram went down the one or two times, I didn't have any ads or anything like that because I don't really work that much with ads. So it didn't massively affect me. But I can imagine the panic stations where they wouldn't really have had that time for that half an hour of a little meltdown. It was a case of it needed to be done now. So yeah, you definitely have to be able to adapt when things can go wrong
No,
without.
I agree. Because I think that when you see, when Instagram was down at some point, I don't remember, not long time ago actually, you see how even people react. First of all, so imagine business when they have million and million, on ads and preparing to launch something. I can imagine, the stress behind the scene.
Mm.
But and then I wanted to know maybe more about, let's say, how you keep up with the trends and how because like you say, everything is moving fast. And like more and more now than ever. Like literally, sometimes you wake up, you have a new trend, and some people can keep up on TikTok and to all the dance and everything. But you, as professional now, you need how you do that.
With great difficulty. I know. Do you know what? It's the one good thing of digital marketing. It's a pro and a con. It's really saturated for every business, but it's also massively saturated with the amount of advice and tips and tricks you can get. So I suppose for me, when I started off in that internship, and I've kind of kept to it since, was events. So I went along to workshops. I remember going to a workshop in Galway with the Tweeting Goddess to learn how to use Twitter better. I went to Dublin for a blogging workshop. I went to Sligo for a Facebook workshop. So I traveled around the country to get as much knowledge as I could. And back then, I suppose there wasn't really webinars and that sort of thing. So it was very much in person conferences or in person sessions. And that actually led us here in Mayo to develop a digital marketing Mayo because there was a need for it at the time. Because that's the one thing is while it's a great way to learn things, quite often business owners don't have the time to take a day out of their business to travel, from Cork to Mayo or Mayo to Belfast, whatever it might be, to be able to go to these things. So it really is an investment of time and money for that reason. So we're very fortunate now that we've such accessibility to webinars and workshops online as well. But also, if you do get the chance to go to some in-person ones, especially if it's something that's really relevant to your business, it's definitely worth going to them. Also, following thought leaders. There's so many experts in the different areas. Now, you said there's so many different areas in, social media marketing alone. You have TikTok experts, Facebook experts, Instagram. There's so many
Yeah.
experts. So following thought leaders. So I think a good way of starting out, which I've done as well, is social media marketing. It's social media examiner. So I'm thinking of social media marketing world, which I went to. It's a social media examiner. I think it's a conference in San Diego, which was incredible. If anyone wants to go to that, it's on every year. But social media examiner, the likes of HubSpot, Moz, Agora Pulse, they're all really good places to start because they kind of cover every aspect, so to say. Then as you kind of get into them, you'll start seeing different people that will write those blog posts or be on the podcast or on the YouTube videos. And you'll start to see which ones you connect with the best, which ones resonate with you more, and which ones kind of are more crucial for your business. So, I've kind of started following plenty of people since then, like Kim Garst, I've Andrew and Pete over there in the UK, Amy Porterfield, Michael Stelzner, the founder of Social Media Examiner, Neil Patel. There's so many of them. But I think if you start off first with kind of some of the main ones and see which area is it you want to learn about. Digital marketing is broad, and this is kind of nearly always a debate. Should you be on everything? Should you not? You can't be on everything and give it 100% and consistency. And I'm a firm believer in consistency. But at the same time, if your target audience are between, for example, 18 to 40, Facebook might not be where they're going to be hanging out. So, but you might have somebody who wants to look for something for their daughter or their son that won't be on the other platforms, but they might be on Facebook. So I still think it's good to have even a small platform, like even if it's just a page with what you do and your contact details. I think it's good to have one on each platform. So that way someone can find you and have your contact details where they can direct you to where you want them to go. But to be consistent across every one is nearly, nobody, even digital marketers don't have the time for that really. So follow the thought leaders to see which ones are best for your industry or your business and then kind of home in on them. Then I would
Mhm.
subscribe to their newsletters. So kind of
Mhm.
narrow it down to the ones that really benefit you. I would subscribe to their newsletters because then they will be giving you up to date. So if it's TikTok you want to be on, you'll be getting regular TikTok. There's a change to the algorithm, or these are the top trending sounds this week, or whatever it might be. Online communities are another big one that I found incredibly useful. As digital marketers, we're all always learning. So online communities where you can network. So networking is another big one. You can share tips and tricks, what's worked for you. You can say, oh, I'm having a problem here today with Instagram or with Restream or whatever it might be. Is anyone else having the same problem? So you can figure out, is it a you problem or is it across the board? So online communities and networking with like-minded people. And as well as that, just keep learning. So keep taking part in courses, whether it's on HubSpot or LinkedIn have courses. There's so many courses that you can keep upskilling. Now, all of that sounds a lot, and it is. So even for a business owner, that's a lot, but it's also a lot for someone working within the digital marketing space. And I guess that's why nobody's really an expert in it all. We all kind of have our own areas where we particularly focus on, and then you've kind of knowledge in other areas, and then you collaborate. So collaboration is a big one as well within digital marketing. I know other people that are a lot better when it comes to building websites. So what I have the basics of building a website, but I would recommend them to do it, and I could maybe help them with the visuals first. So collaboration is a big thing as well.
Nice. And actually, you talked about two points I wanted to go back to, but well, the first one was okay. If someone just started, because of course, like big business and medium business have like usually budget for that sometime. And but let's say if someone just started a business and just startup and everything, and the budget is really like really quite small for, and you cannot, you have to choose between the product, focus on product or focus on other things. How first, how that person can maybe try to cut budget on that, try to have digital visibility, across different different social media platform, and not be like not spending so much money as well, because it's easy for some people to be like, oh, I'm gonna do an ad, but sometimes ad doesn't work as well the way it's done. They can be like something fast and not reaching the right person. So yeah, which advice will you give it to that person?
Grow organically. Um, I have a love-hate relationship with ads. I think most digital marketers are like, don't say that. I do. Um, Personally, ads are very effective if you use them properly, but it takes time to learn how to use them properly. A few years ago, they were a lot more simple. They're getting more and more complex. Um, and you really kind of need to watch your ads and see how the spending's going. And you need to test and kind of come back to the drawing board, see what's working, test again, come back to the drawing board, test again. Organically is probably one of the best ways from a long-term perspective. So for a website, for example, if you start off with a website, just do a simple website that you could do yourself, maybe on WordPress. There's loads of YouTube tutorials. It doesn't have to be the most biggest complex website to start off with, unless you're e-commerce. Then you have the likes of Shopify and different things like that as well. Um, or you could always sell your products on Etsy. There's loads of different ways when you're starting off just to get going until you have that. There's also grants for websites through the likes of the local enterprise office, so definitely go and talk to them. It's not 100% funded, but they're there, and they also have so many amazing workshops and guidance, and they have experts kind of all around the country that will help. And that's very cost effective as well, starting off. But you could even build a very simple website on Canva. They have that website option now as well, that you can build a very simple one by just using elements. So it's just to kind of learn how to use the tool really. When it comes to social media, then I mentioned it earlier. It's all about really communities, especially in Ireland. We're big on know, like, and trust factors. We're big on communities. We're big on word of mouth. So I think building communities and really starting off organically. If you're putting out quality content, if you really nail it down, like, right, this is my target customer, they're within this age bracket, they're female, they're living all over the country, we'll say. You can put out, then you just discover what platform is best, and that's the one you really focus on. As I said, I'd still set up a page on the other ones, kind of have your contact details and your brand there, but you can kind of direct things back, or you can just quickly repurpose them. Um, but I really kind of focus on the one that's best. And then video has just become huge. And when people see people on video, they feel like they're getting to know them. And when they feel like they get to know you, there's a better chance they're going to buy from you, or there's a better chance they're going to reach out to you. So I think I myself, I'm introverted, and I love I'm saying all this. I don't practice half what I preach because I'm so busy doing it for clients. I don't do it for myself half the time. But even as an introvert, there's still plenty of ways of showing behind the scenes without showing your face, or showing the in product. There's still plenty of ways to do it. You could just have your voice going over it. Or everyone has their little quirky things. Like, everybody's different, so show that, and then people will kind of get to like you and your brand for that, and you'll grow organically, and it'll go by word of mouth. Influencer marketing is another thing you can go in. It's not the most expensive, depending on the influencer you're working with. That can sometimes be helpful if it's like a product based business, um, or for a launch or something like that, to get someone to come along to kind of give that extra little bit publicity. Don't forget to kind of go back to traditional methods as well. I know we're talking about digital marketing, but sending your local paper a press release can do wonders as well. Try and get on other people's podcasts or things like this, because the more you're putting yourself out there, the more people are getting to know you, and the more people are going to start talking about you. So really, if you're starting off and you have no budget, you can do a lot of this stuff. It's just paying for the ads when it's done effectively. It brings in the revenue a lot quicker. It brings in the conversions a lot quicker. Give people stuff for free. Like, do up an ebook in the likes of Canva, a simple ebook. Like, for example, if you're a nutritionalist, 5 ways that calcium to add calcium to your diet if you have calcium deficiency. Um, make a nice little ebook, 3 or 4 pages long. If you want to click here, it brings you like that. It could bring you to Canva. You put in your details, you get the free download emailed to you, then you have them on your marketing list. So there's loads of ways. The only thing is, time is money. And I know I've said that a few times because I've worked with small business owners, and that's one of their biggest things is I don't have time. So I often recommend if they could even spend 1 day a week, or like half a day a week, or maybe 1 day a month, and sit down and be like, right, this is the content I want to put out over the next month, and sit down and video it or schedule it. Canva again has a great scheduling tool. There's plenty of other ones. I used to always use Content Cal up until lately. They're with Adobe Express now, I think it is, which is very like Canva. Agora Pulse. There's so many great scheduling tools. So you just sit down, you schedule everything out, and it's done. You don't have to think about it again. I just recommend kind of popping in and out, do a little bit of engagement in case people are leaving likes or comments, or if they have questions, or send you a DM. But your content is done. That part is done, and then move on to the next part of your business where you need to be. So done is better than perfect. I'm all about consistency. Algorithms might like every single day, but if you only have time to post 3 times a week, that's all you've time for starting off. I'd say deliver that quality 3 times a week, and it will start building up. And when you get to the point where you have money, then you can hire someone to come in and help you, whether it be freelance that can do that 1 video a day or 3 videos a day, or you can expand your team and actually hire someone full time. So just be consistent, quality over quantity, and yeah, just try your best, and that's all you can do, really. So
Nice.
that's a
There's a
bit of
lot of great content and information. Actually, I think that all the audience today will, take notes, and I hope that if you have any question, you can add those questions, guys, without any problem in the chat. Of course, you can always. I will add Anya as well contact just in case her business later on in the chat. So if you want to reach out as well, to get if you're a small business of entrepreneur and you're looking for like some help at some point to start somewhere. I have actually two questions now. If I had another question now, I'll get you another one. But we talk about the change of algorithm because we can see like even people using Instagram, let's say in the daily days, in the daily life, they can see sometimes algorithm changing. So, but you on your side, what what do you see exactly now of what people should be, let's say business should be more take in consideration at least when about the algorithm, if you have like maybe something input on about that.
I mean, the algorithms are always changing, and even I find it difficult to keep up. I used to work a lot more in the social media marketing side of things, so I used to be a lot more up to date. I think at the moment, and I could be wrong, but I think at the moment it's recommended like 3 videos a day. Now, like those videos are like that 20 seconds type videos. They're quick, they're snappy, it's a quick hook, get someone in, give a call to action. You can always repurpose your content as well, which quite often people don't think to do. But you can repurpose it on different platforms, or if you put something out today and it did well, why not put it out again next week? Because it's probably going to be seen by a totally different audience. So you can repurpose what's working for you. Or if that topic worked really well and you have another way that you could do it quite quickly, then do the same topic but in a different way. Um, but yeah, you've got your if you look at Instagram, you've got your grid carousels are coming back, I think, quite strongly again. So again, they're quite quick and easy to do once you know how to do them. Like that Canva is another great one that you can just develop it all in one and just download them or even schedule straight from Canva. Or you could just have a few product images, or maybe it's behind the scenes where you're out and about. So it's just having the few that people are sliding across. But again, nearly have that call to action. Hashtags, they used to be, you could have up to 30 hashtags. So it's kind of the more the better. Recently, I heard that now it's performing better on Instagram if you only use 3 hashtags. So before it was like the more the better. Now apparently it's 3. What other changes have I heard of? As I said, I'm not quite as involved in that as much anymore, but they're just for me kind of keeping an eye on different things. They're things I've been seeing is like posting like 3 times a day on TikTok, 3 hashtags for Instagram. But if you want that sort of advice, I would highly recommend a lady called Muriel Foley. She's based in Cork, actually. She's Anthony, want to know about Instagram or even TikTok, that's your go-to gal. And she's always on Instagram with loads of really cool tips. And it's not just in them, she covers massive amounts of digital marketing as well. So definitely check her out. She's well worth getting some quick
That's
tips and wins from.
Oh, that's a good advice because that now I think it's like it's a little hard to keep up. I won't lie to you, even though yeah, if you're like just a normal user, you're like sometimes lost, and then after that, entrepreneur, you're like 1 week, a lot of things can be changed, can change in 1 week, and then after that, you need to keep up with that. And when you start, you don't have the head in one, only to that. You have to focus on other things as well, to move your business, to scale your business. And last question, another question I had about maybe how do you measure in general, if I used to measure before, maybe now, the success of a campaign that because I know that you work in the visual totally, but how do you because you're as a type blue and data drive, like how do you measure actually if you see like in the past a good campaign, and which metrics did you use of, yeah.
Yes, I suppose the first thing is really to define your goals. Why are you running the campaign? What are you hoping to get it? So like really kind of defining those smart goals that can be tested and analyzed. So if you look at a digital marketing campaign, it could be a huge campaign across everything we've talked about, from the website to email marketing to social media marketing to blah 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 blah. So it could be across the board. You could also have PPC going. You have to have your SEO right. So it could be this huge campaign that you've going. When it comes to a website, if your campaign is based on website traffic, for example, you're going to be looking at things like your bounce rate, your conversion rate. Um, they're kind of the main ones you're looking at. Maybe as well the amount of sessions and the page views, like how long they're spending on your website, that sort of thing, and also the kind of customer journey. But again, it depends on those goals and stuff. If your goal is to generate leads, you're going to be looking at, you know, how many form completions you got, how many downloads you got. If you want to subscribe to your newsletter, how many email addresses you got, that sort of thing. If your goal is to increase brand awareness, then you would be a lot more in social media. So you'd be looking at the social media engagement, the impressions, the reach, the likes, the comments, that sort of stuff. So it really depends on the goal and the KPIs that you set out at the very beginning. But for example, if you wanted to drive traffic to your website, so you're sitting, going, okay, I want to increase my traffic. How much do I want to increase it by? And you're thinking, right, okay, I want to increase it by 20%. Right, we're going to increase by 20% over what period of time? So then you decide 20% over 6 months. So that's kind of your first starting block. And then it's like, right, well, how am I going to do that? So you decide you're going to focus on improving the SEO and you're going to work on PPC. And that they're the two metrics you're using. Then what you're going to be really looking at then is, as well as the website visitors, how long they're spending on the site, the bounce rate will be a really big one that you'll be monitoring. And again, you'll be kind of trial and testing. So if at the beginning you're seeing that the bounce rate is quite high, then you're going to have to stop and look and be like, okay, the ad copy that we have going out here in PPC, are we targeting the right people? Is this our target audience? And if that's correct and that's our target audience, and you're confident that your ad is right, then you're going to look at your website going, okay, when they're coming to the page, they're interested in what we're advertising, but they're bouncing straight off within a couple of seconds. Why? So then you look at your website. Is it how it's too slow? Is it too funky? Is it not mobile responsive? Is the content just not appealing to them? So is the content on your website very different to the content in your ad? Are they not aligning? That's the kind of thing. Once you get your bounce rate down that it's quite low and people are staying, then you're kind of going to look at conversion rates. So if it's for them to download something or whether it's a sale, whatever that conversion is that you're looking for on that website, then you'll be looking at your return on investment, how much money you've put into the ads, to how much you're kind of getting back. So they're all the kind of different metrics then that you would look at. But you started off with 20% growth within 6 months. So you kind of have, you're setting out your goals and your aims and your KPIs, and your main way is you're driving traffic from your SEO and your PPC. So if you're seeing then on your website and through your Google Analytics that, okay, you are getting an increase, but actually the majority of it's coming from social media, again, you're going back testing what's wrong with the ad, why, what's drawing people from social media that they're not coming from the ad. So, but yet, no, we're spending money or whatever it might be. So that's kind of the metrics you would go with. So it really depends on the goal and the KPIs that you set out to begin with. So I hope that helps.
No, but that's actually a good training for some people today. I think that people join for a discussion, and I think they will take a lot of notes after this because yeah, I'm learning a lot thanks to you.
Good.
Um, so we talk about the big word AI. So let's just we are trying to avoid that, but yeah, we need to discuss about it because it's everywhere. So yes, when we talk about your business and AI and yeah, the impact of it and the good of the good and the bad of it. So what do you think?
The good and the bad. Well, yeah, I think most people would have to be sleeping under a rock if they haven't heard about AI at this point. For years now, if AI is the future, AI is the future, but AI is it's here now. It's no longer the future, and it's not only here, but it's coming at us at a massive speed that even digital marketers are scrambling trying to keep up at this stage. Um, AI has a lot of pros and it has a lot of cons at the moment. So For example, with AI, it can really like improve your efficiency maybe within a business. So the chatbots would be one example. So you can kind of streamline that customer service with the chatbots, and you can be spending your time somewhere else in the business. So AI can help with that one. It can be cost saving that you could nearly reduce your workforce a little bit from like that social media scheduling, that sort of thing. There's loads of that sort of tools. People are starting to make money from teaching it, so they're either selling books, or again, the amount of ebooks I've seen get our top 10 prompts for ChatGPT, and they're getting me on their mailing list, and then they're selling at me, selling at me, selling at me. So I'm unsubscribing, unsubscribing, unsubscribing. But like it's very intelligent to see how people, the early adapters, have really jumped on this, and they're really, really using it to their advantage, and they're dead right. Because now is the time to jump on it when it's so new and people are trying to learn it. I've played around with some of it, like that. You could go down an AI rabbit hole if you let yourself, very, very easily. So sometimes during the day, I might set my timer for 20, 30 minutes and let myself kind of play around with it to learn. Um, it's kind of a case of AI is here and it's here to stay. So you do need to get familiar with it and what the possibilities are for your business. Digital marketers need to get familiar with it to learn how they can use it, because like that, businesses and their clients will be asking them questions. But I also wouldn't rely too heavily on it. So one way it can also help is, for example, we spoke about not having much money earlier and how can people create this sort of stuff. And I said, maybe if you sat down for a day and planned your content, you could put into ChatGPT, I want a social media calendar, content calendar for the next 30 days, focusing on Instagram. This is my business. This is my target audience. Please feel free to ask me any questions before you create this. Then ChatGPT will come back, ask you a few questions about your business. You give them the answers, and then wham, bam, they've literally given you all your Instagram captions. And then you have to go off and create the images, and then you can go off to AI art or one of those and say, create me these images, and then they give you something back. And it's all wonderful. You can go and say, write me a blog post. Again, we'll go back to the nutritionalist. Write me a blog post on 10 reasons, 10 ways to include your vegetables for your children's diet, whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
Creates this blog post. Great, boom, copy, paste, off I go. Blog post done in literally 2 minutes. Happy days, yay, go me, pat on the back, I'm doing great. I would disagree with all of that. As in, I think do it, but it's not as easy as just copy and paste and leave it off. Every business, and I said it earlier, know what I can trust factor, you're building a community. So everybody has their own voice. Like the way I'll speak about digital marketing will be completely different to how Muriel, as I mentioned earlier, would speak about it. Or, Michael Stelzner, we have our own voices. We have different ways of describing things. We use different vocabulary. We have our own way, and that kind of comes into your brand and that comes into your business. So if you're just copying and pasting, then you're losing your voice, you're losing your brand, and people will see through that. Like I have definitely seen posts on on LinkedIn lately where I'm like, that does not sound like that person. That is not their usual. And kind of when you click and look at their profile and go back and look at their past posts, they used to maybe include emojis. There was no emoji, and it was the type of topic they could use an emoji.
Easy.
Their voice was gone, their brand was gone. It wasn't them. So then they're losing the trust very quickly, because it's like, this was literally just copied and pasted. You're nearly trying to cod the consumer. It is good for digital marketers. I work with so many different clients, and I might not be the most knowledgeable about their industry. So before I used to do a lot of Google, like a lot of research on Google to really kind of get to know their industry. I'd really study their website to get to know their voice and stuff. So as now, it gives me answers a lot quicker. So it saves me, scrolling through some articles that are useless to some that are good, that it gives me answers very quickly from a research point of view.
Mm-hmm.
But I would still go off and kind of create it with their voice, not with just ChatGPT. There's other things that are cool that people are making money from, like the AI art. They're getting really cool images, just boom, and then they're putting them on t-shirts and selling them, which great, nice quick win. But what happens if someone else comes along and asks for a dog with a cardigan and the same image is generated, and they also go off and sell a t-shirt, and 3 years down the line, who actually owns that image? And then there's this full thing. So while I find AI is brilliant, it's moving at such a fast pace, an incredibly fast pace. Like I think every day I go on my phone to look at something, there's a new AI something or other, and then you've Google competing against Microsoft, keep competing against Bing, and they're all trying to get it out quicker. I think it needs to slow down a bit. I think people need time to catch up. I don't think there's enough legislation around it yet. Um, I think it has so many benefits, and I think it will definitely help in a lot of ways. But right now, it's moving at such a quick pace. There's no way of like where are we going. So if you look, for example, in the US, they had there a few weeks ago, maybe it was about 3 weeks ago, former President Donald Trump was going through his court battle that was over there. And then all over the internet was images of him being like dragged out by police. And there were very realistic images that Donald Trump was getting arrested and he was being thrown in jail and he was resisting arrest. And it looked incredibly real, but they were all fake. They were AI generated images. Then the minute President Biden announced that he was going running again for the 2024 elections, the opposition came out with a video which was all constructed of AI videos and images. And it really, CNN, Donny O'Sullivan there on CNN did a bit of a thing about it, where he went around showing it to people in America, and some people really thought it was real. And they're like, oh my God. There was like the footage of armed like riot police out in the streets of San Francisco. It was showing, bombs going off in Taiwan. It was showing people running for the southern border. It was crazy. So it was kind of like, what if, Biden was president again? This is what could happen. This is our country. And it was nearly putting the scare tactics. And that's nothing new in American politics, the way they go at each other. But it was the fact that none of them were real, but it looked so realistic. There's another story I heard as well, again through, I think it was through CNN with Donny. I love following Donny for the AI stuff, but it was a lady who got a phone call. Now, we've all been victims to scams and hoaxes that, you're getting a phone call, I need your bank card details, I need, your bank account details, whatever it might be, or, I have someone hold them to ransom. But when the woman answered the phone, they were like, I have your daughter. And she was like, what? And then her daughter's voice was on the phone. She thought she was talking to her daughter. Mum, please help me. The daughter was frantically crying, please, please help me. And they wanted a large sum of money because they kidnapped her daughter. So the woman was frantic in the house, bawling, crying, loads of stuff going on. She's now on the phone trying to get this money together. And her daughter was upstairs in the bedroom the entire time. So the daughter heard the commotion, comes downstairs, and she's like, what's wrong? And she was like, you're kidnapped. No, I wouldn't have thought that. But genuine thing that people
Wow, that's
have your voice, and Donny actually did it as an experiment where he put his voice through this AI and called his parents. And his parents now, in fact, he did, good old Irish accent, and it's still a little bit Americanized. There was a few words that were a bit like, nah, not awfully like him. But it had his parents had a conversation with him, but they weren't talking to him. They were talking to AI. Now they were at the end, they were like, we were a bit unsure, but we thought maybe you were in bad coverage or something. But it just shows the other lady said she was 100% convinced. So that's how you can, what they're getting worried about now is how this could be used for the bad, like that. It could be used in so many negative ways. Or, when it comes to world politics, are they going to put words in presidents' mouths that they might never have said that could potentially? So there is dangers, and I know they're in extreme,
but
but
we never know. Now, I agree with you on that.
seen it happen in the last few weeks in the US. This is how quickly it's moving, and there's nothing to stop it. There's no legislation to stop it. It's a really good thing. I'm loving, as I said, playing around with it, seeing what you can do. But I think it needs to nearly slow down a little bit now. Let us catch up, and then maybe in another year's time, kind of come out with a little. So I think nearly it's time that all the kind of big tech giants nearly got together and kind of figure out a way to slow it down while all still getting a piece of the pie. That's essentially what the competition's about. But yeah, AI is a minefield, so let's see where it ends up. Like ChatGPT came out, what was in January? We're only on the 10th of May, so let,
Exactly.
let's see where we are in another 5 months with AI. It's crazy, but hopefully it'll be more beneficial than negative in the long run.
Wow, that's wow. Now, yeah, I agree that, like you say, I think I was reading something, not actually this week. AI is more about, people can feel scared about losing their job about because of AI, but as well you need to think about the people who will know how to use it will be the one as well be like, have the strong hand on it, will be more secure at least for a while until something else change again. But
100%. Like I remember there just a few weeks ago, Canva had this
launch of yeah, I
big
saw
new
that.
launch of a load of new things we're offering, and some of them were AI related. From a user perspective, I was like, "This is so cool! Look what we can do." From a business perspective, I was like, "Oh no, I could be in trouble here." But then when I kind of really kind of dug into it, I'm like, "Well, no, I'm not in trouble, and none of us are in trouble because at the end of the day, AI is great, but it still comes back to having that human voice. So it still comes back to the person behind it, the person that's operating it. And if you go on to Canva or any of these tools and you don't know how to use them, then they're not really that much good. Now, a lot of them are very user friendly. And as I said, Canva is one of them, and it is very user friendly. But there's still things like I've been playing around with AI and it hasn't done exactly what I wanted it to do. So I was still able to have the basics in Canva that I could go around and just make the little tweaks to get exactly what I wanted.
Hmm.
So you still do need the human behind it. Could it potentially could there potentially be some job losses from it? Maybe. But as I mentioned earlier, I'd still be for using it as an idea platform, I think. Definitely, I think it would be good to get creative, get thinking, brilliant for some research. But again, now we're seeing how it's great for research, but as I explained with some of the negative that's happened, now we're going to have an influx of fake news. We're going to have an influx of all this other stuff that now you're nearly going to nearly tripling down on your research to make sure your research is actually real and not
Yeah.
AI generated. So I think there could be even more of a need for humans now that AI. There might be a little dip short term, but I think long term, I think we're going to need a lot more researchers to fact check everything.
Wow. I think that I saw a video a few weeks ago about even at school people. I think there was like, using that for the thesis of something, of a work, end of work, something they need to give to teacher, and the teacher had like maybe 10 of the same paper or something like this. And you're like, and they use AI for sure. But like you say, it's like he can notice, they can now, we have tools as well to notice if it's AI, like paper are coming from a tool or not properly done by yourself.
Yeah,
And
which is, I mean, I've learned a lot of different ideas from AI from the little bit of food and around I've been doing with it. But at the same time, like if you're in the school system and you're just getting that essay regurgitated, you're not learning anything. Some might argue, do you really need an essay on Shakespeare to help you go through life? But you do in a way, because if you want to go into content creation or blog writing or that sort of stuff, you have to learn the basics of that, and that's how you learn the basics of that sort of stuff. So it speeds things up that way. But yeah, I've seen something since that I saw that video about the class that she got an awful lot of the same ones. Apparently now there's a new AI tool that can prevent that that has come out in the last few days. I saw advertised earlier. I was like, I'm not.
okay,
That one doesn't bother me. I'm not in school.
exactly. So yeah.
One. They were using ChatGPT. They should have been using something else, apparently.
Oh, that.
It's a minefield.
uh,
We need
but
AI
yeah,
to really get into this with you.
no, but that's yeah, that's wow. Like you say, it's moving fast and in everywhere. Like it's touch everywhere. So it's and the way as well is scary about the voice and all that. Yeah, I heard that, and it's like yeah, it's very scary. So it's like we are safe. We are safe without being safe at the same time. So it's a bit, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to think about after today. But yeah, so we're almost at the end of. Actually, I didn't even notice the time, time flying.
Oh,
Wow, that's what can I say? So if you have maybe like just maybe in digital or visual marketing of like some maybe strategy people that can different one that you give a lot of already, yeah, for sure. So I'm this point I don't even know if you we forgot something, but maybe two or three last strategy that people should think about, like as entrepreneur and have like a small business and start to want to scale slowly to be more visible, and of course it's organically, that's the point. But maybe other strategy you want to share, maybe of yeah, of maybe touch on the topic before we finish.
yeah. So I think for me, I think when it comes down to it, really, digital marketing is becoming bigger and bigger, and it's changing and changing and changing, and there's new platforms every day, and there's new this and new that, and algorithms are changing. But really, if you bring it back to knowing who your customer is, what they want, what they need, what their pain points are. Bring it back to the basics. So every campaign you're doing, like who are you talking to? Do your customer persona. Um, be human when you talk to them. So I know we talk about AI, but be human, because everyone's going through something on a daily basis and nobody knows what anyone else is going through. So it doesn't take long just to be nice to somebody else. So, if it's a case of it's a product and somebody leaves you a really nice review, then message them back and say, thank you so much for taking the time to do that, because they did that in their busy day to leave you a nice review. And remember that. Maybe give them a discount code to bring them back again. And as a gesture, as a thank you, you could maybe privately message them or whatever, not to put that out there, but publicly thank them for their time. If someone leaves a negative review, again, I'd also go back to them, unless it's a really just someone really just being a nuisance that has absolutely nothing behind it. But if it's a genuine something that they didn't, remember, again, they might be having a bad day, they might have taken their frustrations out on you a little bit, but see what you can do and go back to them and see, is there something you can do? Not only will that make them happy, hopefully, and maybe potentially buy from you again, but it will also show to other people that you care about your customer. And that's what it really comes back to. So you can have all the digital marketing things that you want, and you can sell and sell and sell. But like that, at the end of the day, if you're building the know, like, and trust factor, and I know I've said it time and time again because I thoroughly believe in it, like most of my business is word of mouth. Um, for the digital marketer. But it is because I'm so busy doing stuff for other people. I have to get better at that. But it is word of mouth because I give clients time. I really find out what their pain points is, what it is that they want. Like for me, when I work one-on-one, I try to create, if I'm creating templates, I'll try and create a template that they can really easily work with. I'll try to do as much work for them as I can, and I'll give them a little video and explain how they can use it. But then I might follow up maybe a month later and say, how are you getting on? Are you having any difficulties? Do you need? At the end of the day, they trusted me to do something for them. They trusted me to create these templates that they can reuse again. They trusted me and to and gave me their time. And it is them giving me their time as well, and their trust. They wanted to learn something new, but like they respect my time, whatever. So it comes back to the person. So I think when you start off with, no matter what campaign, if it's in social media, just take that little bit of time. Like it could be just when you're boiling the kettle. It could be, if you're waiting for a bus. It could be if you arrive at a conference 10 minutes early. Just take those few minutes and kind of go through the comments or whatever it might be. And people will remember that. I always remember that. I know plenty of other people. Apart from that, when it comes to everything, make sure your visuals stand out. If you're not comfortable being on camera, there's plenty of other ways to do it, but just overall, just be yourself, because that's who people are going to buy from. If you try to be like somebody else, it's going to come out sooner rather than later, and you're not going to be authentic, and you'll lose that trust. So just be yourself, try it organically, build a community, and it might be a slower burner, but it's more for a long-term success, not a short-term win. Unless you're doing a side hustle or something like that, that's a short-term win. But if you're in it for a long-haul business that you're setting yourself up, then really it's all about your potential customer, and it's very important you know who they are and where they hang out, and then just be nice to them. Just be nice.
Just be nice. I think
Be nice.
that's the word of the end. Exactly. I think people should keep that in mind sometimes. But yeah, thank you very much. Actually, I think in 1 hour it was like a training for digital marketer of for small business. So there was a lot of a lot of content, information, and you find the time to give this training without knowing it's gonna be a training. But thank you very much, Anya. And yeah, I don't know if you have like something else you want to add before we end up today.
Just if anyone wants to reach out to me, I'm on nearly everything at Social Onya, so Onya. Or you can email me socialonya@gmail.com. I can leave my stuff in the comments. But even if it's something that I don't do, if you're looking for a recommendation of maybe someone to follow for a newsletter, or if you want a recommendation kind of a good blog or YouTube, if it's TikTok or whatever, I can kind of direct you other people's ways. that give that content that you might find useful. So if that's helpful to anyone, by all means, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll give you kind of some links, or if I can make an introduction or whatever it might be. So just reach out, and on LinkedIn then I'm Áine Mc Manamon, but I can leave all my links later in a comment. So don't hesitate to reach out, and even if it's not visual marketing, I'm happy to steer you in the right direction for the experts who know other parts of digital marketing better than I do.
Thank you very much. And as she says, she will send add LinkedIn contacts of the business and her personal as well. If you need, you can always reach out and as well follow her and see all the things she does. And that was great. I hope you enjoyed today's topic and you learn a lot. And if don't hesitate to contact GCI Island if you have any topic you want to talk about, or even question as well with about one of your speaker. And if you want even to know about GCI Island, and but thank you very much, guys, and see you. I think soon for our next one actually, and June as well will be busy, and we are working for July and August as well. We'll keep you updated. But thank you, guys.
Thanks so
Bye.
much for having me.
Thank you.